Brad Smith, Michael Van Pelt. Look, I'm gonna make this video for you real quick. I don't know if it's gonna be helpful or not, but I'm gonna take this off my little tripod here, show you where we're at. Good times. This is in Gulfport, Mississippi. All right. So what I'm gonna show you is some of the things we were talking about with the line that Earl Rapier had described to us in our basic stance. So I'm going to put this camera back on the tripod, but I just wanted to kind of show you what it is that I was talking about. So I'm going to use this line. It's going to be basically where the cue stick is going to be. Hopefully you can see it, and hopefully you'll be able to hear me. So basically what I'm going to describe is the shots. So basically this is going to be a straight shot, right? So this is the one that is on the line. And let me see if I can. While I do this, let me get this to show you real quick. Credit card, credit card, credit card. This is important. Everybody should have a CJ Wiley card, you know, because how can you make a ball if you don't have your CJ Wiley player's card, you know? But anyway, that being said, how I aim these straight shots, and I've talked to you about this before, is I have my dominant eye, which for me is my right eye. And this is not new. I saw this on another video a couple years ago, and I've been doing it ever since. But anyway, it's not perfectly straight. I've shown you this on my other video. But basically, I have my right eye, my dominant eye, on the edge of this ball to the edge of that ball that are straight in. Right? So, this is called a zero. Right? This shot here also is going to be my dominant eye here, which is going to be seeing some thickness of this ball, you know. So from here I'm using the inside edge of the cue ball towards the center of this ball. Right? Here I'm using the center of the cue ball to this edge, like that. And this is where my dominant eye is going to be, where this card is at. Right, this card. That's on number 0, number 1, number 2. Number 2 is going to switch from center to edge. Number 3 is going to be also center of the cue ball to edge. And of course that, I didn't adjust that credit card on the object ball, but it's still the same thing. When I'm standing up back here, this is where I'm starting from with my body, with my central alignment, and with my eye alignment. And then from here, on the periphery, that's number 3, this is number 4, is basically going to be back to the edge of this ball, to the edge of that ball. And you can see I'm not directly on the edge. Whatever the thickness is here, is going to be a similar thickness here. So I'm not shooting that edge of that ball to more of a thickness. I'm imagining how much of the thickness of this one is going to be, and I try and duplicate that on that side just for number 4s. So let me show you the stance adjustment from what we learned from Earl. So the stance adjustment from Earl is, I'm gonna give an example of what Earl would have had us do. You still have the books from 30 years ago, so take this Vision Street wear attire off. So what Earl would have had us do was come back here, see the shot. He would have had us put our cue on the line. Then we would have put our foot underneath our hand. And when we come down from here to here. And our elbow, our shoulder, and our dominant eye all comes down on that line. So we would be back here. We would do this. We would step in with our hand our foot under our hand. Basically, all of the shot starts with this right foot being on that line, like this. We would step in and come down, and we would have this, and our dominant eye on the line, like that. That's very similar to what Mark Wilson teaches still. If you look at C.J. Wiley, if you look at, let's see, Dave Matlock, some of these other guys, I think they actually had it right. These old school bar table players. If the most important thing is our visual perspective, our visual perception, you can have everything online. You can have your body online, you can have your wrist, your elbow, your shoulder, and your head in line from here. And at some point, if your visual perspective shifts a tiny bit to the left or a tiny bit to the right, why are you getting down to there? It doesn't matter if all of this is straight. There's going to be some type of a pathologic adjustment that's going to be made, because it's just never going to feel right? So this kind of goes to talk about like how sometimes you can get down on the ball and you just know you're going to make it. And then sometimes you can do everything through this process and you just don't feel like there's nothing you can do. You're never going to make the ball. And you don't understand why. You're like, you did everything correctly, but when you get down, you still do not feel confident. Right? So this new process makes it to where that is less the case, right? So you're more confident and you have more, you feel like you're gonna make the ball more. You just know that you're gonna make the ball. Right? So one adjustment that was made was, instead of being here to where you're leaned over and your body is over here, what we do is I call it lining up from your, Mike DeLauder calls it lining up from your belt buckle, but I say playing from your crotch or your balls or your whatever, your D. You know? So like, instead of every shot starting with your right foot, every shot starts from your dick. Every shot starts from your center mass. And C.J. Wiley says from your chest. But to me, like, I feel more connected. I feel that I can understand it more from my belt buckle, like Mike DeLauder says, because really that stabilizes you, right? That's where you're going to stay, where your chest and your head is actually going to go down. Now there are adjustments that I've made to that as well, right? We'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is, basically I'm going to be here, where this is the line of the shot, right? And now I've got my central mass, I've got my belt buckle or my dip on this line. Right? Push this down a little bit more so maybe it's more visible. Like this, right? So then, when your head is in the correct location, you build everything else around that. Of course, I'm not going to make it because I'm talking. I'm not taking the correct amount of focus and time. But let me do that again, right? So So I'm not depending on, while I'm standing up, getting my cue correct and having zero adjustments on my cue. Because this was the issue with putting the cue and then putting your foot on the line and building everything around that, is that you didn't have any, you can't adjust your cue because you're assuming that while you're standing up and your cue is on that line correct, that has to be correct, and you shouldn't make any adjustments from there. Justin Hall is probably my favorite player that plays like this, because you can see that whenever he gets down, he's like this, and then he built, like, his head is stable, his perception is correct, and then he comes in like, but he doesn't move his head, right? And that's kind of the key, is centering your body, centering your mass, centering your head to the correct perception, and then building everything around your head being stable instead of your stick and your foot and what would this being so here, and you can look at snooker players and kind of see the same thing where what they do is they're here and they step forward, and then this leg goes out and like locks, boom, like this, and then the left foot is pointed towards the shot line. So here, and then as I'm pushing forward here, this hip is coming back and up. I don't care that I'm not making the ball. That's not the point of this. It's possible that you're the only one that'll see it, or you may not even ever see it, but I'll show it to somebody in the future that I'll teach you. Right? So another consideration, and I know I've talked about this, is that, and maybe not to you, so this might be new, right? So if you imagine variance